Donald Trump skipped an important session during the G7 meeting, the summit, that had to do with climate change. Now, during this meeting, the members voted on what to do to help the Amazon rainforest, which is currently on fire. They talked about allocating the funding necessary to save the rainforest. And more importantly, they talked about climate change and what to do about the climate crisis. Now, Trump claimed that the reason why he couldn't make it to this meeting was because he had a different meeting scheduled. And let me give you those details. The president was not in the room when reporters were allowed to observe parts of the session, and his seat was empty. The heads of government of the other 6 nations that comprise of the G7 were there, and the president said that he had scheduled meetings and bilaterals with Germany and India, so a senior member of the administration attended in his stead. Well, Jim Acosta is about to call BS on that. Take a look.
One thing that we should point out, the White House press secretary Stephanie Grisham put out a statement saying, well, the president couldn't make it to the climate session here at the G7 because he was having these bilateral meetings with Chancellor Merkel of Germany, Prime Minister Modi of India. And we should note to our viewers that Prime Minister Modi of India and Chancellor Merkel were at that climate session here at the G7 summit. And so we're not getting a lot of straight answers. Perhaps we'll get some, perhaps we won't get some.
Yeah, so I would like to show you graphic 2, which features Modi and Merkel at the meeting that Trump was not at.
He said he wasn't at that meeting because he had to meet with Merkel and Modi about different things at the same time. Oops. So, I mean, look, this is what happens when you're a pathological liar. It's super easy to catch you in lies because you can't help yourself. You don't bother thinking out your lies. They've never had any consequences before. So you just lie. And they're like, dude, what do you mean you had to meet with them? They were in the meeting. And he's like, yeah, whatever, don't care. I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. My followers are idiots. It's totally irrelevant. After the meeting, they asked him, hey, are you gonna go to this meeting? After the meeting, he said, I'm going to. In fact, it's going to be our next session. I want clear air and clean water.
Yeah, actually.
They're like, no, the meeting already happened. Yeah, I'm going to go.
So I want to go to a video about that in just a second. But first, I also want to note that important things are discussed during these meetings. And Trump also skipped the climate change meeting at the G7 summit last year. So it's not like he's been this fighter when it comes to the climate crisis. In fact, he still thinks that it's nothing more than a hoax because he wants to protect his business interests. That's all that matters to Donald Trump. With that said, though, he was asked about what happened, what went down, and here's what he had to say.
You've harbored some skepticism of science and climate change. What do you think the world should be doing about climate change, and do you still harbor that skepticism?
I feel that the United States has tremendous wealth. The wealth is under its feet. I've made that wealth come alive. We are now the #1 energy producer in the world, and soon it will be by far, with a couple of pipelines that have not been able to get approved for many, many years. It'll have a huge impact. It's tremendous wealth, and LNG is being sought after all over Europe and all over the world, and we have more of it than anybody else. And I'm not going to lose that wealth. I'm not going to lose it on dreams, on windmills, which frankly aren't working too well. I'm not going to lose it.
So for Donald Trump, it's all about wealth, it's all about money, it's all about the US being the top producer of oil, and that's it. That's all that matters to him. I mean, he tells you his priorities right there, which is exactly the reason why he skipped this meeting. It wasn't to have a bilateral meeting, it wasn't to meet with anyone important. It was to avoid having a conversation about something that goes against what he cares about the most, which is money. By the way, the rest of the countries did vote to provide 20 million euros to the Amazon rainforest in order to help fight those fires.
The fires that are out of control, they've increased 83% since last year. In the last 9 months, there's been 72,843 fires in the Amazon. The Southern Hemisphere is currently on fire. And Trump didn't want to go to the meeting because he doesn't like to be uncomfortable. And they would have been talking about how they have to do something about climate change. And since his financial interests are tied to not doing anything about climate change, he doesn't want to hear it. And so, by the way, there are 2 things that needed to be pointed out about what he said in that video you watched. He said, "Oh, we became #1 under my watch." That's not true.
Under Obama, correct?
US became the top fossil fuel and energy producer under Obama, which, by the way, is not praise of Obama.
Nope.
But him saying he did it is just not true, as usual. And secondly, when he talks about it's climate change, remember the question was, is it a hoax? And he came back with, yeah, it's a dream. I want the money, and climate change is a dream, and windmills, and I don't want to chase after that. Now, maybe he doesn't want to chase after the windmills because they, a well-known fact, they cause cancer. Now, of course, that's not a fact, but Donald Trump literally believes that. He thinks the windmills cause cancer because they create more wind, and wind obviously causes cancer. We have a lunatic for a president. And so we're asking him about climate change. What does he know? He belongs at a mental institution. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.